Hey guys, this is House of Chatter. I've updated the Jenna Redfield video for you guys to include the new TikTok video that was just released on the docket by docketupdates.com. This will make a lot more sense in the video when you watch it. And also, this video does not exist anymore because it has been deleted. And when you look through my previous videos, you can see some of my commentary and my shock about it.
Hi guys. I there's something happening behind the scenes that I can't talk about because there's investigations happening. All I can say is that the women of this movie are victims. That's all I can say. There's a reason it's been being kept quiet and I can't talk about it. There is actual investigations happening. I am submitting things and if you know of anything, please DM me. Reach out. I want as much information as possible to hand over. This was not what I intended, and everything that you think is happening, it's the opposite. And I'm kind of shook. And I honestly am in way over my head. I'm working with other people now because it is way bigger story than you'd ever think.
Hello, house guests. Come on in, have a seat. Let me pour you some cold iced tea. This is House of Chatter. I am Emmy, and we are still talking about the Blake Lively lawsuit, and we are talking about Jenna Redfield and her relation to the Blake Lively lawsuit, and could she be the one content producer who is vital to this case other than the 107 content creators that were subpoenaed? So, who exactly is Jenna Redfield and what is her relationship to this Blake Lively lawsuit? Well, on the docket, if you search her last name, her name is associated with 424 docket entries. Some of them are exhibits in relation to her, and some of them are just declarations, and hers is in the pile of documentation supporting some motions. And we'll take a closer look at that. So, who exactly is Jenna Redfield and who has brought her up? Well, this is Blake Lively's disclosures. She names Jenna Redfield as a content producer. Her attorney or how she could be contacted is redacted, but additional contact information to be determined. She apparently has knowledge about the party's alleged conduct. I don't know why a content producer would know the party's alleged conduct and the retaliation campaign alleged by Miss Lively. So now I have questions because apparently Jenna Redfield knows similar information as Jamie Reynolds, Mr. Reynolds' niece, and Tamara Reynolds, Mr. Reynolds' mother. Why would she have any information about the retaliation campaign that maybe Range Media Partners, Mr. Baldoni's talent agency, knows of? Which I did not see these on the other disclosures, but that's another video. Jenna Redfield, content producer, has similar knowledge to everybody else on Blake Lively's disclosures, including Taylor Swift, Gigi Hadid, Hugh Jackman, among others. So why is Jenna Redfield, or is she even mentioned in this lawsuit? Well, I am going to point out August 8 for you. This is from Blake Lively's CRD complaint. It says, The significant spike in the volume of negative sentiments toward Miss Lively included notable spikes on approximately August 8 and 14, 2024, and continued to trend mostly negative for the remainder of 2024. Okay, so again, why is Jenna Redfield important? What else happened on August 8th? At 10:11 Pacific Standard Time, Nathan and Lively's publicist, Leslie Sloan, reached an agreement whereby neither will communicate directly with a reporter prior to informing the other. Nathan states, "I am not doing one thing without speaking to you," to which Sloan responds, "Me either." Just 9 minutes later, Sloan breaches her agreement with Nathan by engaging with a reporter at the Daily Mail. Sloan actively continues her discussions with the Daily Mail reporter, seeding false information to cast Baldoni in a negative light, to divert attention from Lively's tyrannical behavior on set. Sloan attempts to portray Baldoni as the antagonist, stating, "The whole cast doesn't like Justin. Nothing to do with Blake." She doubles down, insisting, "I'm telling you, she's a liar." They are panicking as the whole cast hates him. Sloan also threatens the reporter, saying, "The entire cast I will have go on the record. This needs to hold." Nathan's text with Sloan. "Thank you, Safe Flight." And this is just saying, "Now I am involved. There will be no shock surprises to you." And here are Sloan's text to the Daily Mail reporter. Daily Mail reporter says, "Have to talk about some stuff that came in from reporters regarding Blake and her new movie drama." And then it talks about Baldoni fallout. Sloan says it's 100% untrue. What else does it say? She didn't require script runs, nothing to do with this. She produced the movie and it looks like got a cut. What the fluff is going on? The whole cast doesn't, is that like Justin? Nothing to do with Blake. And so they are talking about it. And then Sloan reiterates, "I'm telling you, she's a liar. They are panicking as the whole cast hates him. I promise you, she is lying. This will not look good for your site." And she says the cast will unfollow or will be on the record. But then we have Stephanie Jones inserting herself in the same day, and that is a different matter. Now, where does Jenna Redfield come into this? So August 8th, Miss Abel flagged content to Miss Case, Miss Nathan, and Miss Coslow, Mr. Heath, and Mr. Mitchell, posted by an individual with the username of Jenna Redfield, alleging that something more serious was behind the ends with us drama than was being publicly revealed. And then it gives the exhibit. Miss Case replied that we flagged the creator to Jed and his team as well. Miss Abel flagged 2 other TikTok videos posted by the same creator. Miss Case replied, "I'm assuming this is not true in the slightest. This girl is on a very dangerous crusade to more followers. Either way, we flagged to Jed and his team for more serious action on the social side." will monitor heavily for any shift in narrative seen based on this narrative regarding, and it says my last days and my other commentary on it. Okay. So that is where Jenna Redfield starts coming in. And we see here again, August 8th, 2024, Abel sent a message to Mitchell of Jonesworks, Nathan, Case, and Coslow. And this is Jennifer Abel, or this is referencing Jennifer Abel's declaration. Abel flagged the negative public commentary about Baldoni as part of her employment at Jonesworks. Again, conduct media monitoring. And then it says on August 9, 2024, Abel exchanged text messages with Nathan concerning articles about a rift or feud between Baldoni and Lively, as well as other potential media coverage of the situation. I'm just going to continue this because this is important. As part of her employment at Jonesworks, Abel monitored news outlets for negative publicity and Baldoni and sought to potentially garner public or positive publicity for him. Advise on any marketing and campaign strategies to ensure broad messaging is consistent, opportunities are maximized, and the strongest press angles aligned. Okay. Abel exchanged text messages with Nathan on August 9, 2024, as part of her employment at Jonesworks. Okay. So they are involving Jonesworks and Matthew Mitchell. And you can see this again. I'll just go up to here because it talks about August 9th. And then August 9, Jones, Chief of Staff, Gordon Duron forwarded to Bidondoni the inquiry from the Hollywood Reporter concerning alleged film-related drama. And this is a response from Abel, I believe, partially disputed to the extent of the inquiry, wanted to see if Justin has any background info to share from his end or wanted to weigh in on the matter. And this is from Abel's declaration. Abel confirmed to Jones and Duran that the situation was being handled by Jonesworks employees assigned to the Wayfair clients' accounts. And then Abel does not specify who is handling the account. And then, I just want to say that everything is about on-set drama here. Okay. And again, here is another August 8th. Jones also knew that Jonesworks employees were monitoring social media activity concerning Baldoni statements or online comments from Jenna Redfield. Response partially disputed to the extent Jones knew Jonesworks employee as of August 8th, and this is a declaration, but that Jones did not know that Abel or anyone else was engaged in activities contributing to or amounting to the digital campaign as alleged by Lively in this action. And then I'm just going to say, for instance, in an August 8 email, a Jonesworks employee passed along information related to such social media monitoring to Jones, partially disputed to the extent. And it says a response here is partially disputed to the extent that the cited email reflects only August 8, 2024. A Jonesworks employee passed along links reflecting, and it is redacted. And this is per Abel's declaration. It does not show that Jones was providing anything beyond publicly available monitoring, nor that she understood anyone, including Abel, to be engaged in activities contributing or amounting to a digital smear campaign as alive by Lively in this action. And this is, I believe, Jones Works disputed facts. So this is Jones Works response to 56.1 by third party Jennifer Abel and counter statement of material facts. And then if we took a look at here, we can still see that TikTok is still a concern. Again, this is Jen Abel's declaration. So this is what they're referring to. It says here, on August 8, 2024, I sent a text message to of Jonesworks, Nathan, and Case concerning, again, this is redacted, taking note of or flagging negative public commentary about Baldoni was part of my duties as a Jonesworks employee. A true and correct copy of the text chain is attached as Exhibit 14. Again, we could see that August 9th, there was still talk about a rift or a feud between Baldoni and Lively and other potential media coverage of the situation. So there's a rift and a feud. There's nothing uncomfortable yet. August 10, 2024, I exchanged text messages with Heath Mitchell of Jonesworks and Case concerning the Hollywood Reporter article and TikTok videos related to Lively and Baldoni. Okay. So she's doing this out of furtherance as a Jonesworks employee. Again, TikTok is vital to this case. And Megan Toohey of the New York Times, when a TikTok gossip personality posted criticisms of Baldoni, Jennifer Abel texted, "We flagged to Jed and his team for more serious action on the social side." I'm not sure if they're referring to Jenna Redfield, but Jenna Redfield suddenly became a TikTok content producer because of this ongoing feud, I should say. And Jenna Redfield does comment about the positive stories that Baldoni is getting. So TikTok was part of the monitoring and part of a social combat plan, right? And then they are working to boost with TikTok. And I'm going to read this because it does. Now we start seeing the uncomfortable comments. So I'm going to say the next day on August 14, 2024, Miss Abel texted, I'll have our digital side boost this TikTok and the right TikTok, an individual who Miss Lively has never met, responded on social media that Mr. Baldoni made Miss Lively uncomfortable and sad, calling it all nonsense. Okay, so TikTok is now circulating a rumor that Miss Lively was uncomfortable and sad. That is coming out August 14th. Again, Jenna Redfield is mentioned as evidence in the waiver motion for summary judgment. That is her TikTok videos that they are referencing to. Again, they are still following this story. Social is really important. Again, Baldoni built his reputation and that movie on social media. Let's not forget that. But as you can see, August 10, it's actually sad because it shows you have people really want to hate on women, and this is just the backlash from Blake Lively. So, again, who exactly is Jenna Redfield? Well, if you take at her look at her TikTok videos, those are deleted and no longer accessible. You might find him on CJ's YouTube pinned, but also Jenna Redfield wrote a Substack about behind the scenes of It Ends With Us. But if you click on that Substack, you are not able to access that post because that post has been deleted by Jenna Redfield along with her TikTok videos. So, what exactly did that post have to say? I believe CJ Journalist does have some TikTok videos that she was able to save along with some of these posts, but I will be reading from screenshots because you can get these posts but only through your mobile device. So what do you get when you finally access Jenna Redfield's post? You get the following. Let's take a look and read it. So she says, tour saga behind the TikTok drama that sparked it all. A deep dive into the viral TikTok investigation that uncovered an explosive Hollywood scandal. Jenna Redfield, December 24, 2024. In it, she writes this. Over the past few months, people have asked me to share my perspective on the events surrounding the It Ends With Us press tour situation from August. I decided to wait until the recent New York Times article and related legal developments were made, as I wanted to ensure that my thoughts were based on public available information. Back in August, I received an anonymous message via TikTok which mentioned serious allegations. At the time, I attempted to confirm the claims with credible sources, but no one directly involved was willing to provide on the record confirmation. As a result, I chose not to discuss the matter publicly until more information was available. Now that these details have been outlined in legal documents, I feel it is an appropriate time to share my personal experience and understanding of how I became involved in the situation. I'll provide some context, walk through the timeline of events, and reflect on my own thoughts along the way. Statement of position. Throughout my coverage, I maintained no direct contact with any principal parties involved in the production or legal proceedings. All information shared was based on publicly available sources or alleged communication from third parties. Any speculative content was clearly identified as such at the timing of posting. I am making this statement to provide transparency about my role in covering these events. Moving forward, I intend to return my focus to general pop culture coverage and other professional projects. Legal notice. This statement is provided for informational purposes only and should not be considered as verification of any claims or allegations. All matters discussed remain subject to ongoing legal proceedings. Background. I've been a huge fan of pop culture for years, and I've always loved reading and learning about it. A couple years ago, I decided to turn that passion into TikTok content. I initially created a separate TikTok account called Pop Culture with Jenna, but after some time, I thought, why not consolidate everything into one account? Once I made the switch, I started posting about current events and pop culture news on my main account. To my surprise, some of the videos really took off. One even hit over 1 million views. That viral was about Stranger Things, but honestly, I would create content on anything I found interesting. In July, I joined the Creator Rewards program, so I began actively looking for stories that could go viral. One topic that caught my attention was the movie adaptation of It Ends With Us. I hadn't read the book and didn't care much about it at first, but I was intrigued by the casting. Blake Lively being cast seemed odd to me, as did Justin Baldoni. It felt like they were a bit too old for the roles. This casting choice sparked a lot of backlash when it was announced, which only added to my curiosity. Even though I'd seen behind the scenes content of the movie, I didn't know much about the plot at the time. Blake Lively has been on my radar for a long time. I was a big fan of the Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants growing up. While I didn't watch much Gossip Girl, I knew she was the star of the show. As a proud Swiftie, I also knew her through her friendship with Taylor Swift, and of course, I always loved her husband, Ryan Reynolds. I was familiar with Justin Baldoni. I'd listened to his podcast, Man Enough, seen a few of his movies, and admire his work, especially his connection to Minnesota. He filmed a video here with Zach Sobich, which really resonated with me as a Minnesotan. Being a fan of both Blake Lively and Justin, I was genuinely excited to see what they'd bring to the movie when it finally came out. Start of the timeline, August 6th. I didn't know the plot of the film, and so I wasn't that invested. And then I was looking for a new TikTok idea, so I scrolled Instagram and I found one of Blake Lively's posts. All of a sudden, I kept seeing the question, Where's Justin? Where's Justin in the comments? And I hadn't seen any articles about this yet or anything. I was just seeing a few Instagram comments and thought, that is weird. I haven't seen him in any of the press. I've always been a film junkie. I went to film school, but also am a marketer. So I was like, this the weirdest press tour I've ever seen. So then I started watching some videos about the press tour and realized Justin wasn't many of them at all. So that night, I decided to make a TikTok about it. And I showed the screenshots of the Instagram comments that I'd seen and asked what was going on. So if you look back at the very first video I made about it, you'll see that I just screenshotted Instagram comments, asked questions about it, and then I went to bed. I always go to bed being like, who knows what will happen in the morning? When I wake up, maybe it'll do well, maybe not. August 7. I woke up one morning to find that a video I posted had garnered a couple 100,000 views. I realized there was significant interest in the topic and decided to look further into it to see if I could find any additional information. That's when I came across Liz Plank's Instagram stories. For context, Liz was one of the co hosts on the Man Enough podcast and had attended the premiere of the film. As I watched her stories, I noticed something unusual. Justin wasn't mentioned or shown in any of them. Liz only tagged Blake, which struck me as odd given her close association with Justin. This sparked a lot of questions for me. Was Justin not being mentioned? I'm sorry. Why was Justin not being mentioned? Why was no one talking to him? Why wasn't he with the rest of the cast? These questions led me to create another video, which ended up being the one that went viral with over 3.2 million views. I was surprised it was the follow up video that took off, and suddenly I was inundated with DMs and comments. I started making additional videos, not just about the drama, but also about the box office, my theories, and other aspects of the story. It was a whirlwind trying to keep up with the momentum and the flood of messages I was receiving. The DMs came from a range of people: crew members, individuals in post production, and people who had worked with both parties. Each brought different perspectives. Some seemed credible, while others appeared biased or limited by their level of access. Overall, I got the impression that the project had been very chaotic behind the scenes. Around this time, I also started connecting with other creators covering the story. One standout was Liz, a TikTok creator and producer based in LA. She reached out to me and we eventually started texting. Liz kept me updated on developments and was a great source of support during this overwhelming period. Huge thanks to Liz. And now we are going to get to Thursday, August 8th. Many of the messages and comments leaned heavily against Blake, but what stood out to me was the surprising number of supportive comments about Justin. I noticed several remarks praising Justin, highlighting his positive qualities and expressing admiration for him. Actual comments on my most viral videos included: I refuse to think Raphael could do anything wrong. Justin Baldoni is an absolute angel. I know that much. I refuse to take any criticism about Justin Baldoni. I love him. At the time, I found myself wondering, how do so many people know Justin? Why does he have such a passionate following? In hindsight, I considered the possibility, though unconfirmed, that some of these comments could have been influenced by the alleged findings of what was written in Blake's lawsuit. While I can't say for certain, the situation left me questioning things and feeling uneasy. It all felt off. I assume some of the support stemmed from his Jane the Virgin days, but the sheer number of people insisting he could never do anything wrong felt unsettling to me. It made me think, you don't really know this person. Similarly, you don't really know Blake either. It raised the question, how can people take a side so strongly without knowing all the facts? The disparity in narratives on TikTok compared to the actions and dynamics of the cast felt strikingly one sided. I did get many people sending me messages defending Justin and accusing Blake of being hard to work with and taking over the movie. But I didn't get a handful that weren't as positive about Justin. A message from someone in the post production world who had worked with Justin and did not have a favorable impression. A message from someone close to Colleen sharing that something negative had allegedly occurred involving Justin on the set. One DM in particular caught my attention. It contained information closely matching details which are now outlined in the lawsuit. For privacy reasons, I won't share specifics, but I do have screenshots of the conversation. Interestingly, just about 30 minutes before receiving these messages, I had purchased a ticket to the movie. I felt it was important to watch it in order to continue covering the story. As everything was unfolding in real time, I received an email from a reporter at a major news outlet. I believe the timing was coincidental, as the volume of people reaching out to me had been steadily increasing. When I spoke with the reporter over the phone, I approached the conversation cautiously. I made it clear that the information I was sharing was unverified and merely allegations that had been shared with me. While I didn't feel comfortable providing screenshots of the DM, I relied the general content verbally so the reporter could investigate further. Throughout this process, I was focused on ensuring that any claims were treated responsibly and not presented as fact without proper evidence. The reporter seemed surprised by the information and assured me they would look into it. I felt a sense of relief knowing that a professional with access to resources and journalistic standards was now investigating the matter. It lessened the weight of responsibility I had been feeling, as I know verifying such claims was beyond my capacity as a content creator. Over the following days, it became clear that no one directly involved in the situation was willing to speak on the record. The reporters kept me updated, explaining the difficulties they faced in corroborating the allegations. Um, Both Blake and Justin's team appeared to be tightly controlling information, which made it nearly impossible for journalists to gain traction on the story at the time. This experience reinforced my commitment to transparency and accuracy. I intentionally refrained from presenting the allegations as anything more than unverified claims and waited to see if those with more resources could confirm them. My goal was always to seek the truth while maintaining ethical standards in how I approach sensitive information. At that point, I realized I couldn't share the DM publicly. I understood the importance of having solid proof before discussing such serious allegations, as relying solely on this DM could have had significant consequences if the information turned out to be false. I was deeply aware of the potential legal and ethical implications of sharing unverified claims, including the risk of defamation. Although I could have chosen to break the story on TikTok, I recognize that doing so without verification would have been irresponsible. The fact that two major outlets, after reviewing the information I provided, chose not to publish anything further reinforced my decision to wait. It was clear that this situation had complex implications, and rushing to share incomplete or unverified information would have not served anyone involved. At the time, public sentiment was overwhelmingly against Blake and supportive of Justin, which made me question whether sharing the allegations would have made an impact without concrete evidence. My goal was not to sway opinions, but to ensure that any information shared was truthful and substantiated. Even though the DM seemed to align with my instincts and helped me make sense of certain aspects of the situation, I ultimately chose to hold off. I felt it was more prudent to wait for the truth to come to light through reliable channels rather than risk adding to the confusion or misinformation. My intention throughout was to approach this matter with care and integrity. I saw the film that night knowing all of this. It made it very hard to stomach, and I ended up crying afterwards over all the intensity I felt. Friday, August 9. The Hollywood Reporter article was published followed by hundreds of others, many of which referenced my video. The Sun, Page 6, Distractify, The Independent. For the first time, my Google alert for my name was triggered. My TikTok presence suddenly became very public and personal, with people from all corners reaching out on social media, including some I hadn't heard from in years. It was an overwhelming experience. I was grappling with the weight of the DM I had received and the ramifications, yet I felt constrained from discussing it publicly. The situation left me feeling caught in a challenging position, unsure of how to navigate the sudden attention and responsibility. Saturday, August 10th and 11th. On August 10th, I received an email from a reporter at another major publication. The following day, I sent her the screenshots of the DM I had received. She said she would investigate, but I never heard back. At that point, I felt stuck. I had this alleged information, but without being able to verify it, and with reporters also struggling to confirm the details, I couldn't provide any concrete conclusions in my videos. Instead, my updates ended up with vague statements like, "Stay tuned for more." While I hoped the DM wasn't true, it inevitably influenced my perspective on the situation, which now it seemed to explain the actions of everyone involved, at least in my mind. By, by then, the stress was taking a toll on my mental health. My birthday on August 11th arrived, but I was physically and emotionally drained from the whole experience. It felt like I was constantly in fight or flight mode. I celebrated my birthday quietly with a small group of friends and tried to refocus on other aspects of my life. August 12th and beyond. I posted a few more TikToks during this time, referencing publicly available articles that mentioned Blake feeling uncomfortable. I used these articles to highlight that there seemed to be tension or issues worth noting. While I didn't directly reference or disclose the content of the information I had received, I had acknowledged that my intention may have been to allude to it indirectly. I was careful to base my comments on public information rather than making any unverified claims for fear again of any legal action if down the road what I believed was not true. I ended up stepping back from TikTok entirely for a month, giving myself some space to process and recover. August 16th, YouTube Brett Cooper shared a video about the story, including a clip from one of my TikTok videos. A few friends out to let me know after seeing her video, which garnered 2.5 million views. At the time, the attention felt overwhelming. And even hearing people discuss the situation brought up a lot of difficult emotions for me. And the months that followed, when asked about it, I would simply say that I might share the full story someday. Now, after taking the time to process and reflect on the experience, I feel ready to share my perspective. Saturday, December 21st. Months later, I woke up to texts and articles reporting that Blake had filed a lawsuit against Justin. Multiple people forwarded me the New York Times article and others detailing the case. As I read through them, I noticed that some of what I had previously suspected seemed to align with the details in a lawsuit. The lawsuit included one of the DMs I had received and shared on TikTok. To clarify, this was not something I created or wrote myself. I was simply sharing what had been sent to me. Blake's team used this as proof that Justin's team was tracking any remotely negative posts about him. For me, this marks the end of my involvement in the story. I plan to step back and let things unfold as they will. While there's likely more to come, I no longer wish to be a part of the discussion or to have this define my presence in the public eye. TikTok's role in the story. What started as a simple observation about Instagram comments quickly transformed into something much bigger. Largely due to TikTok's unique ecosystem, I've spent a lot of time thinking about how the platform itself shaped the story's trajectory. The algorithm's impact. When my follow up video hit 3.2 million views, I witnessed firsthand how TikTok's algorithm can amplify a story beyond its original scope. What began as a straightforward question about Justin's absence from press events snowballed as the algorithm pushed my content to millions of viewers, many of whom had no prior context about the situation. Each view, like, and comment fed into the algorithm, creating a feedback loop that kept the story at the forefront of many For You pages. The pressure of the Creator Rewards program definitely played a role here. As I mentioned earlier, I had just joined in July, so I was actively seeking trending topics. This situation hit right as I was learning to navigate content creation as a potential income source, which added another layer of complexity to my decision making process. Looking back, I'm sorry, the comment section echo chamber. Looking back, I noticed how the comment sections of my videos became their own ecosystem. Early comments often set the tone for subsequent responses. When those initial comments were heavily pro Justin or anti Blake, as many were, it created a sort of echo chamber. New viewers would arrive at the video, see these comments, and their perceptions would be influenced before they'd even fully process the situation. This relates back to what I observed about the surprisingly passionate defense of Justin in the comments. TikTok's format encourages quick emotional responses rather than nuanced discussions, which might explain why so many people felt uncomfortable making absolute statements about people they'd never met. Platform limitations and responsibilities. One of the biggest challenges I faced was trying to cover this story responsibly within TikTok's format constraints. How do you convey the complexity of a developing situation in videos that typically need to be under 3 minutes to perform well? Sorry, guys. How do you maintain nuance when the platform rewards definitive attention grabbing statements? When I received that significant DM with serious allegations, these platform limitations became even more apparent. TikTok's quick hit format isn't really designed for the kind of careful, measured reporting this situation required. This partially explains why I turned to professional journalists instead of sharing the information directly on my platform. The digital footprint. What I didn't fully appreciate at the time was how permanent this digital footprint would become. Once my videos were cited by The Hollywood Reporter and other mainstream media outlets, they became part of the official record of this story. My TikToks weren't just quick social media posts anymore, they're being referenced in serious journalism and eventually legal documents. This presence adds weight to what might otherwise seem like casual social media commentary. When the lawsuit mentioned one of the DMs I had shared, it drove home how When the lawsuit mentioned one of my DMs I had shared, it drove home how social media content can transcend its original context and platform limitations to become part of larger narratives. Looking forward, this experience has fundamentally changed how I approach content creation on TikTok. While the platform's ability to rapidly spread information can be powerful, it also requires careful consideration of responsibility and impact. As I move forward with pop culture coverage and other projects, I much more mindful of how TikTok's unique characteristics can shape narratives and influence public perception. The platform's role in this story, from its algorithm to its comment sections to its format limitations, serves as both a cautionary tale and a learning experience for creators covering developing stories. While TikTok can be an incredibly powerful tool for sharing information and building community, it's crucial to understand its limitation and potential impacts when dealing with sensitive or developing situations. Looking ahead, I'm excited to focus on writing my book in 2025 and creating lighthearted TikTok about pop culture, which is what I enjoy most. What started as a story I followed has veered into a territory like true crime, a genre I don't typically cover, and I'm ready to move territory like true crime, a genre I don't typically cover, and I'm ready to move on from it. Jenna Redfield is a Minnesota based entrepreneur specializing in digital organization, content creation, and personal wellness strategies. As a Notion ambassador, she offers templates, courses, and coaching to help individuals streamline workflows and boost productivity. Jenna shares her expertise on TikTok, YouTube, and her podcast, Optimization Toolbox, where she explores ADHD friendly productivity and content creation strategies with an upcoming book on digital organization and personal optimization. Jenna is a DM purportedly from Jenna Redfield or from Jenna Redfield and possibly Liz Plank. That is a rumor. I can't substantiate who she is talking to, but in it, this looks like it's a Instagram post. It says Jenna Redfield. I still can't believe that happened either. I thought I was just pointing out a PR moment. I didn't realize I was stepping into what become one of the biggest Hollywood scandals in recent memory. Talking about movie marketing is one thing. Talking about the potential downfall of two of the most powerful people in the industry, that's another level. It was never what I wanted to be a part of. I didn't expect that video to spark what it did. When things got overwhelming, I stepped away from my own well being. I couldn't carry that weight. Others picked up the story and continued with it when I didn't want to be involved anymore. Watching it all unfold from a distance has been surreal. A true butterfly effect. One moment, one post echoing far beyond anything. I still believe the truth will rise, and I'm at peace knowing I walked away when I needed to. Full story through December on my Substack. So she used Substack, but also she also posted this on 12/21/2024. This looks like an Instagram post. It says Jenna Redfield, the wait is over, and I'm so happy this story is finally over. When I first started making the story, it was very lighthearted, but quickly took a dark turn. I received information in August that Blake and Ryan were accusing Justin of sexual harassment and sent it to multiple newspaper outlets to validate the story. But nothing came of it. Ryan and Blake were working behind the scenes to create a legal case, all the while Justin was smearing Blake while she couldn't talk. My instincts were right. And as one of the only people on TikTok who was digging deep, I realized that I was very close to the truth. You can look back and see the point which I realized Justin was the one in the wrong here. I'm glad it's all out now and I can move on with my life. Truth will always be unveiled.
Have Hugh Jackman, who has been on a press tour with Ryan for the past couple months. This almost feels like an extension of the Deadpool and Wolverine promo tour. If you look at Justin's Instagram story, it's only pictures of himself on the red carpet with his wife. She stopped doing interviews alone, and then a group shot, and that's his podcast co-host. Speaking of that, something's going on with these two as well. These two are the co-hosts of the Man Enough podcast. Now, Liz was at the premiere last night. She's only tagging Blake Lively. There's no mention anywhere of Justin. Story that I've been waiting for 5 months is finally coming out. And it was in the New York Times today. I highly recommend reading this article. As you guys know, I went viral in August for talking about this story and digging deep into what was actually going on behind the scenes. And it ended up taking over my life for a week. And in this article, basically, Blake Lively accuses Justin not only of sexual harassment, but also a smear campaign. Now, I'm going to be honest and say I got a lot of DMs that were bashing Blake. And I don't know if those were from his team or what, but I also got one lone DM that told me what really happened behind the scenes. I have not shared this DM, but a lot of it is covered in this article. So I felt like it really just covers a lot of the stuff that's in this. I'm really glad that this is over, but I wanted to show you guys specifically a part of the article that shook me to my core. This quote made me stop in my tracks. It says, when a TikTok sleuth started asking questions about Mr. Baldoni, Ms. Abel texted that this girl is on a very dangerous crusade. I truly believe this is about me because at the time I was getting a ton of views, a ton of information, and I started changing my tune about Mr. Baldoni. I saw through the smear campaign against a ton of information, and I started changing my tune about Mr. Baldoni. I saw through the smear campaign against Blake, and I realized that Justin was behind it. And I thought, okay, this is actually the opposite. You can literally scroll back on my TikTok videos and see my change of tune. And then all of a sudden I was waiting for this article and it never came. And it's because it took many, many months for this lawsuit to come out. I'm sure that the New York Times did a very, very in-depth, research into this. And I'm grateful that it has now come to light. So anyways, I feel like this is the end of the road for me, but I just wanted to share this because I'm glad that it's all over.
The bottom of the Blake Lively lawsuit, or did Blake Lively say side plant stories, or even worse, did they actually commit defamation? Now, the question is, what does Wayfair have? And considering that Wayfair has used Jenna Redfield as a support for their motion in summary judgment, did Blake Lively name the wrong content creator? Or was this content creator part of Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds' plan in hopes to take over the movie for a sequel? Of course, this is all alleged. Please comment.